Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we've got some malicious compliance stories and our first story of the day is by OK Distribution 7440. This looks like crap. I had a window washing company in northern Arizona 20 years ago. Did pretty good business. And most customers were very pleased when I got finished with their windows, except one old lady. I spent about 3 hours crawling through bushes and risking life and limb to get to high windows with my ladder on a slope. Then moving furniture with her nagging me about not dripping on her window seals, etc. I was meticulous when I cleaned and got all the screens, windows, sills, and tracks washed and working. Her windows made the water black. We had agreed on $300 for the job. I gave her my kind-hearted old lady discount. When I was finished, I asked her for payment. She refused. I told her about our agreement. She refused. I showed her the contract she had signed 3 hours previously. She still refused. She said I moved all of her furniture out of place and stomped through her fragile bushes, and to top it off, the windows looked like crap. Cue malicious compliance. I walked down the street to a neighbor's pasture, picked up a few very wet cow pies, and brought them back. Then I started spreading them over her prominent front windows, making sure to cover every piece. She went ballistic as I got ready to leave and called the cops. When the cops showed up and heard the story, both sides, they had a good laugh and sent me on my way. Seems she had a habit of not paying, then calling the cops to get rid of the trespassers. They loved that I just gave her what she wanted. So if somebody did this to you, regardless of who it was, would that inspire you to reach out to any other person you could that works in a similar field or a similar fashion, or any kind of platform you can reach out to and explain that this person should be blacklisted? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Devant Tendency. You got what you ordered, Sargent. Iraq, 2004. Me and my buddy were headed to the chow hall to get some food, and one of my E5 supervisors, who was in a very heated spades game, stopped us and asked where we were going. We responded, chow. I then made an attempt to vacate the area as fast as possible due to a strong mutual dislike between us. The fewer words I spoke to him, the better. He then told me specifically by name and rank to bring him back a to-go box. Okay, what do you want in it, Sergeant?
I don't care.
You sure?
Just get me a to-go box, specialist.
Roger, and moved out. Now, I initially planned on filling it up with the nastiest crap I could find at the chow hall and fill it full of whatever slimy overcooked veg and meat slop they had, but it was a good 500-yard walk back, and I didn't want to have to carry that glop-laden leaky styrofoam to-go box back only to have him toss it. Cue malicious compliance. Yep, just a to-go box is exactly what I grabbed for him. I knew he was gonna be pissed, and at that point, I didn't care. What were they gonna do? Send me to Iraq? I got back, set his to-go box down right in front of him. He opened it, and the look on his face was gold. One to-go box as you ordered, Sergeant. I might as well have spit the last word out. The 3 others playing the game of spades immediately began laughing, as did the others watching. He proceeded to tell me to get in the front-leaning rest, push-up position, when one of the others playing piped up with, "How you gonna smoke him for giving you exactly what you asked for?" He fumed for a few seconds.
Recover and freak off.
I quickly got up and continued to chuckle as I left the area. The repercussions were the worst. Guard shifts, crap details, but still was totally worth it. You did get exactly what they asked for. They just said a to-go box and you asked what they wanted in it, and they said they don't care. Well, they sure seemed to care when you brought it back. This next story is by Soft White Clouds. Military instructor rages after giving explicit order. When I was slightly younger, I spent a summer doing infantry training in the Army Reserves. One of my section's instructors was unpopular and a bully. I had seen him jack up several younger troops over the course of the summer under what I thought were unfair circumstances. Even his co-instructor didn't like him, we could tell, though he was professional enough to never say anything in front of us. Cue the final exercise near the end of the course. Another troop from my section had been sent to a simulated ambush location overnight. We spent hours in damp grass waiting for first light. We were a cutoff team and were watching a road where another section would march past and get ambushed. Cam and concealment were key. About a half hour before their arrival, Master Corporal Unpopular comes by to check on the welfare of me and my fire team partner. We are well concealed with good observation of the target roadway. He has trouble finding us but eventually does and tells us brusquely to stand up. I assumed at the time he just meant for a little while to get off the cold ground before first light. But since that was the only order he gave us, and he had been a Richard head all summer about people not following his orders, we took him literally. We stood up and remained standing until the enemy marched by, looked at us in confusion, and the ambush was triggered, while the enemy officer complained about those two troops standing in the grass off in the distance. The instructor yelled at us afterwards for a bit. We repeated his last order to us, and he went off presumably to allow his head to finish exploding somewhere else. We passed the course, we didn't much care, and never had to deal with him again as we were from different units. I'm glad they passed the course at least. I mean, they obeyed the only order they were given, right? They didn't clarify even though they probably should have known to get back down. Just glad it wasn't a bad ending. This next story is by Winsign99. Well, if that's how you want it, I'll let you do it. So for backstory, a department manager position was posted at my work but required something I didn't know anything about. I informed my store manager I was interested but knew I may not get it due to the one requirement, and yeah, I didn't. Since it was the only real requirement, I let it go. Basically, someone got the job from outside the company, since other than that one task, I would have been the best person for the job. Again, I let it go. Wasn't really the department I wanted, it was just a better title. This person, let's call him, I don't know, Jack. Well, Jack was okay at first during training, but soon became the employee that even now, we use his name when someone does something wrong. Basically, we were trying to clean up his messes, even having to change tags that he did wrong. Again, even to this day, we are changing his tags, and this was years ago. All tags have the employees' numbers of who printed them on them, so we know. So you understand what kind of person this person is. The only thing he was actually good at was the one and only thing he got the job because of. So here is the malicious compliance story. Basically, like I said, I was always cleaning messes up for him. In this case, I mean it literally. I close with him a lot and it's retail, so we need to clean up and face our departments each night. Every time he closed, he would just clean the one section he knew really well and left the rest of his department a mess and then would leave. Me being the helpful type, seen this and without thinking just cleaned his department too, thinking it happened after he left. Oh yeah, did I mention he left early? I usually had to stay a little late, but it needed to be done. After a while, I wondered why he was getting away with this, so I asked the closing manager on duty. He said he didn't know since he had the front to close and had no complaints from the morning managers about any messes. Yeah, because I was cleaning it. He said he would watch for it and asked if I would let him know if it happened again. Yep, it happened again. So I let them know, and he said go ahead, talk to Jack before he leaves and ask him to finish. Mind you, I am not a manager yet and have no authority to stop him from leaving, but the other manager had to count and close the registers, and it didn't matter since they were both managers. So I went, asked Jack, and he said it was fine since he worked the next day, he would take care of it then and not to worry about it, and he was kind of rude. I thought to myself, that would be stupid of him to do. Didn't he know the store manager comes in almost 2 hours before we open, let alone before he would show up? But I got a big grin and said, okay. Here is the malicious compliance. I informed the front manager what I was told and that I was told to not worry about it, and told him that is exactly what I was going to do. He had the same thought I did as I said it. He replied with a big grin also. Yep, then I won't worry about it either. So we stopped worrying about it, and if we found another employee cleaning his area, we told them that he said not to worry about it, he will clean it. And each employee we said that to got a big grin and went back to their department. Remember, Jack was not really liked and made messes we all had to clean up to this day, except not this time. His department was left a mess each night he closed. 2 weeks later, I was lucky to be on shift and walk past my store manager and another store's manager talking. They were talking about Jack. Talking about how he used to be good at cleaning the department each night and not sure what happened, as it's been a mess for several weeks and they had to clean it up each morning. I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud. Both turned to look at me. That's when I told them that I was the one who was cleaning his department till he told me not to worry about it and he was leaving early. Then at the same time they looked at each other with that, "Oh, that makes sense," light bulb look. I told them everything, including some of the messes we are still fixing. Some of which they knew and was only keeping him because his department was staying clean, and that one task he was hired for was getting done, but when he stopped cleaning his department, well, I can bet you understand what they were talking about. Well, long story short, I don't know exactly what swayed the vote, but he was fired and we all had to learn new codes for all the secure areas of the store, and we don't usually change them. So I'm guessing something happened. Anyway, I was given his department to manage, and they taught another employee who knew something about the task to do the task. To be fair, if I had to clean up after them every night, I'd get pretty pissed off. I wouldn't want to be staying there extra time cleaning up a mess that I'm not even supposed to be responsible for. I'd probably have complained way harder than OP did. Our next story is by Vengeful Contabase, Combo Meals. So I work at an undisclosed popular drive-in restaurant that shares the name with a certain Speedy Hedgehog. At our location, Mountain Town number 5490, your order taker rings up everything individually, then hits a Find Combos button that automatically places your food into combos and saves you money. As I'm sure anyone that has ever worked fast food can tell you, customers suck sometimes. On multiple occasions, I have had to explain to customers that even though they did not specifically ask for a combo, they are receiving one anyway because it saves them money. Only about $1.08 US per meal, but money is money. After I tell them it saves them money, their entire attitude changes and they're now satisfied with their order. However, when the customer is being particularly difficult, then raises a stink about not asking for a combo, I just uncombo the order. Gives me some small satisfaction doing exactly what they ask me to do. By the way, all my managers think it's hilarious and are now adopting this method of dealing with problem people. I love my crew. It's small and in the grand scheme of things doesn't really do a whole lot unless they're buying a lot of food and you can uncombo a lot of stuff, but it's still something where you know that they're getting ripped off and they asked for it, and you can get a little bit of satisfaction out of that. This next story is by True Madness. You want breakfast? Okay. This is not my story, but rather my mother's. This is what she told me with a bit of additional info on my behalf. This happened many years back. The 2000s, to put it in perspective. My little sister at the time was a brat. Had to have the best clothes, best things in life, always chatting with her friends on her mobile. Well, one morning, my mom got a text message from my sister, who was in her bedroom 3 rooms away, asking for her to make her some breakfast. My mother took a breath and replied, "Okay, what do you want?" My sister responded with an egg, bacon with a muffin. This was Sunday special with my mother making her own McMuffin. So my mother did. She got a plate, placed an unopened egg, a piece of cold bacon, and a muffin, walked into my sister's room and placed it in front of her. "You didn't cook it," my sister states. My mother says, "You didn't specify," and left. Needless to say, my sister never asked my mother for breakfast through a text ever again. This is the kind of story that makes you take a step back for a second and make you kind of realize how modern day technology can be kind of disappointing in some ways. There's so many times now where that human connection is removed just because it's easier to type some letters out on a keyboard. Obviously right now it's for the best, but in the grand scheme of things, you kind of wish that sometimes there was more human connection rather than just a text message. And our final story of the day is by Patalik. Sure, I'll text when I'm here. 20 years ago, my brother lived by himself about an hour away from where my mom and I lived. I'm much younger than my bro, so was still a child while he was a late teen. We lived in a rural area, while my bro was in the nearest city. Whenever my mom had needed to go into the city, she would pick him up and they'd just spend time together. He had a really bad habit on these occasions: to wait until she was already there and then get out of bed, shower, get dressed, and then meet her outside for them to go do whatever they were doing that day, either errands or shopping, etc. This process would take anywhere from 10 minutes to half an hour, which would eat into the time Mom was willing to spend in the city. One day, Mom arranged to see him, and he just said, "Okay, just text me when you're here." The next day, she texted him, "I'm here," as she was leaving her house, an hour away from my bro. So my bro got up, got showered and dressed, and went to stand outside looking for her car. After waiting for about 15 minutes or so, he finally rang her to find out where she was parked. "Parked? I'm not parked anywhere. I'm still driving." "But you texted me you're here." "I am here." "You're there. I will be there in about 15 minutes. Are you ready?" "Yes, I've been ready for 15 minutes and waiting outside for you." "Oh good, I won't have to wait this time. See you in a moment." On that occasion, Mom was able to get on with her day immediately. In the future, my bro did end up being dressed in time for Mom getting there, but he is still perpetually and habitually late to this day 20 years later. We still talk about this text every time bro is late though. I mean, that's just smart. If you know that they never get up on time and you're always waiting 10 to 15 to even 30 minutes for them to get ready, give them a text ahead and say you're already there, so you just go ahead and bypass that time on the way over. It was pretty ingenious. It seemed to resonate with them because they completely fixed their whole issue of not being ready when they got there, and it seemed to improve the experiences for the mom going forward, which is great. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.